Three followers in that.
I think so.
Susan's replied already. Well, just like, it's something in front of you, yeah. You lowered it, so you have to go like this to speak.
All right, call to order, the city council work session, October 1st, 2025, at 6 p.m. Do a roll call.
James Astro,
Here.
Kathy Sherman,
Here.
Deborah Evans, absent. Aaron Hanson, absent. Vice Mayor Casey Kinsman,
Here.
Wendy Rainey, here. Mike Mickelson.
Here.
Right, we have a forum.
The work session topic is the proposed fiscal year 26 general fund revenue. Some information to it in packet. And then go over some brainstorm on potential revenue. Sources, resources, whatever it takes. At this point, turn it over to you.
Okay, so now, it's Cheryl.
Okay.
She's gonna start us off.
Let's start.
She's the manager.
Okay, so the memo kind of runs through, well, first we took 2025's budgeted revenue numbers and the memo runs through any, changes from that. So, if we just wanna go through, the changes and highlight that first. And then if there's any questions following that, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Just to confirm, you actually highlighted those changes in here, is that correct?
Correct.
Oh, I was reading it.
Yeah. So they're discussed in the memo and then you'll see that it's highlighted yellow on your worksheet also. The remote sellers tax has been coming in higher than what we were budgeting, so I felt pretty confident that we could raise that a little bit. The sales and use tax, it's kind of early, it's October 1st, our biggest quarter comes in for quarter 3, and we'll see that by the end of October, so I do think we'll revisit this number as that happens. But how it's tracking, I think that for the 4.7 that we budgeted for this year might be on the high end. And so we did lower that to 4.5 million. The in lieu of tax payments, it doesn't go, kind of like property tax, it doesn't go backwards, so it's just been progressing an increase, so we're accounting for that in the proposed budget. Brings us down to the division of revenue shared fish tax, which we did receive last week. You'll see that the amount we budgeted for 2025 was $1 million. We received 637,000, so another hit to our 2025 budget. It's a hard one to gauge because the state does not share their calculation for that. I've heard that it's fisheries across the state. So it's not just the fishery that Cordova participates in, it's across the state, goes into that calculation. I couldn't say for certain though that it's years fishery, or if they're taking an average of years, they really don't share what that calculation is. So it is a bit of a guessing game.
Is there something we could do as a city, even from a council's perspective, to ask the question and work with?
I've kind
Mayor
of wondered
Smith.
that as well, but like,
Susan has
Yeah.
tried to get some answers. We could let her give us a little refresh at the next meeting, but she has, I think, even worked with the lawyer on it. So we let her refresh that up.
Is there any particular reason why they wouldn't want to? Why would they, refuse to give us any of their calculations or projections?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's fair, so it sounds like opportunity to talk with Susan some more. I mean, just look, is there a reason why we wouldn't just budget for this low amount we received this year for next year? And
Trying to be hopeful and know that this year's fishery was better than last year.
Yeah.
Also, if I take the 7-year average, it would actually be around 1 million still. So trying to be realistic and hopeful and finding the middle ground.
is it prudent?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I just,
I think that's a
I
great
think,
question.
and that's just looking at especially some very optimistic forecasting we did last year has
Mhm.
turned around and now we're in deficits and that's kind of. What I'm looking to as it's gonna project lower revenue, but it. Might give us more realistic and maybe even a surplus going into next year.
That's how I would do it at home.
Yeah, that's how I do my own finances as well.
The worst case scenario.
Yes, and budget to that. So, okay, thanks for some insight, sounds like some more clarity to come.
Do you know what last year's number was, just to compare it?
Should be on the table.
Back
Yeah.
in 9/20.
2022?
Yeah.
2030.
And the years prior to that were above 1 million.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't think, just from looking at those numbers. It's gotta be an average, because. I can guarantee you that the city of Cordova did not get that much tax last year versus this year, there was a lot more fish that came from
Right.
the city. And the
And
price was higher for.
well, this year will play into next year's.
Right,
Last year played into what
Okay.
we received this year.
and
Okay,
when
up to.
I'm looking at that, that makes sense last year, that
Yeah.
obviously was.
But then we go back and look at 2018 and 20 just for exercise,
Mhm.
and we received good returns
Okay.
on the years after those. So,
Us collectively, because I know we don't necessarily receive, my understanding from Susan, a proportionate amount. So like
right.
the statewide as a whole, even though our fisheries did
Mhm,
not as well, but if Bristol Bay did amazing and
Correct.
our portion of that. So there might be, and last year that would reflect, I think overall, all fisheries
Yes.
did very poorly last
Yeah.
year.
So this was a
Might be onto something,
exceptionally painful year
yeah,
to reflect last year's.
correct, right?
Sorry, let me get back to. Oh, throughout the lease and rents section, you'll just see some. Kind of shifting around in there because. Planning and Public Works looked at each of those and determined like. That some of them maybe were being reflected in other areas. So this is just kind of getting everyone on the same page. But also increases in, if the lease is called for an increase in CPI or any other variable. So that the total of that section, you do see it increase a little bit.
If we can, I just want to say thank you for forest receipts, just keeping us realistic on that and the projection. Hopefully we get some good news at some point, but at least our forecasting is,
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're not counting on that.
No.
Very prudent there. And then I did want to go back, maybe I missed something in the last budget cycle for the liquor license share tax. We had the 0 and 24, I'm sure there was a note as to why we had 0.
I'll have to look back on that and see why. I don't
Okay.
recall there being a note on it.
Okay, and then same with share revenue, I just kind of see a 0 sandwiched in between fundings,
Okay,
just curious, that's,
the CAP, yeah, okay, I'll
Yeah.
look into that too.
thank you.
Okay, the state contract for the jail, we did receive that last week and. Anticipate receiving a little bit more from that. It does include some required upgrades to our facility. So we will also have to undertake some expenses that come along with that increase.
We anticipating the increase to cover those expenses, do we know, do we have an idea, we're still looking into that?
We just got it, and
Okay.
we haven't had a chance to catch up with Cam, we have a meeting with him tomorrow, so one. Just automatically.
Remind me, I know it went down considerably from the last previous 2 years, and I remember, I forget specifically why it did, it was twice as much in the previous 2 years. That we were getting from the state for jails. I'm forgetting why it.
Because the state cut it.
They
Yeah,
just simply cut it, no specific reason.
they did change their formula for how it was distributed also. It has a lot of parts to it, but it's how used it is. Whether or not there's other, we actually rate pretty high on that, calculation that they do, but overall, they cut the program.
Just across the board, across the state.
Mhm. A very small change to dog license impounds and citations, but for sake of keeping it all on the up and up, I wanted to highlight that. We do seem to see a little bit of an increase there, just with people understanding that that's a requirement of our code. Planning other revenue, we increased it based on this year's number being a little bit higher, and also knowing that we have a few items that could come up for sale next year, interest in land disposal.
And that increase is just simply selling more. We're selling,
It-
selling and leasing more property.
Yeah, that part is, when somebody submits an RFP, they have a deposit. If their RFP is not accepted, it is returned to them. And so some of this amount that you see in there for 25 year to date is gonna decrease, because there will be a refund that happens if a proposal is not accepted. But I think the standard fee was $1,000, so we figured if two are accepted in 2026, that was a okay guess.
For me, is there a reason we either don't have this with the or a separate line item? We know it's, like, if we're trying to track RFP, there might be something else in there that we can't explain it, and that, I guess, in my understanding of the accounting of those processes, if we can call something out specifically, should it have its own line item?
We can,
I'm
it-
just curious.
yeah. I guess we haven't seen a whole lot of activity in this in years past, so it hasn't become an issue, but if we can definitely look at that. And then you'll see sadly that Skeeter's Cabin rentals will be no longer at this time.
Just for now.
At this time. But then, Darkie entrance fees have exceeded the budget anticipation for 2025, and there's been a lot of work going into programs and that sort of thing being offered there, so we did increase it a little bit. And that brings us down to the investment earnings. So as we have had, the cash flow money that we want to make sure that we have enough to cover throughout the year and those lean months of June, July. The reasoning for holding onto those funds, but also being very responsible in making sure that it's transferred into AMLIP as we can to get that better investment earning. AMLIP, it provides us an easier access to it than permanent fund in and out, but a comparable investment opportunity. So just trying to be mindful of not missing out on investment opportunity with that money while we are figuring it out.
Yes, if revenue comes in, we'll move it out of the sweep account. We'll just keep putting the larger amount into that. And then we'll have to put it back at some point usually, but yeah, it just allows us to gain so much interest. It's pretty crazy.
What's covered under the donations? That there was that 20,000.
That was Alaska Community Foundation for the interior stairwell here
Okay,
at Cordova
yeah.
Center. Not anticipated to happen again in 26, so it's back to a
Yeah, I just got
realistic.
Okay, questions? On any of these projections? Other risks or concerns you guys want to speak to or highlight? I know highlighted some things, but
Yeah.
you want to call out and talk more
I
about.
think the important thing, and it might feel like a broken record at this point because we've discussed it so much, is that a lot of the cuts that we've seen this year, we anticipate happening further for next year, so while we already made those adjustments in previous meetings to amend this budget, the 25 budget. If you just look at the bottom, like where we're stacking up, it doesn't account for those adjustments that we've already made. So if we compared this to the original 25 budget though, of what we anticipated to come in for revenue, we are 664,000 below that number.
Before we get into, I guess, any questions on that? Before we get into maybe some revenue streams and options. What are we thinking or looking at for services, potential services, list of items that could be cut, should be cut?
That's
maybe
next week.
could cut?
Yeah.
Okay,
We're wrapping our head around that right now.
okay.
You
should,
I think the other thing too, maybe that. We can talk about revenue, there's just a few increases that I wanna put out there, so. We. I don't know, last year was a little bit of blur through budget, I am unsure why we did not raise the MAT tax to 7%.
All surtaxes,
All
max
surtaxes.
tax, vehicle rentals and public accommodations. Surtaxes usually get handled together.
and so those are left at 6%, correct?
Yes. That is the one thing we thought about, and then I know there has been discussion about annexing boroughs and gross receipts in the past. I do not feel like we have the finances to investigate those because we will have to budget lawyer time. And we are already budgeting more lawyer time for the union negotiations that will occur in the spring. So just wanted to throw that out there right now, and it's a lot.
And it's not a viable option for 26, like if we wanted to do that in the future. Right now is when we need to figure out those expenses to increase, because it's not something that happens quickly.
The city has been through that process before though, looking at boroughs and
We have some,
things of that nature, right?
to a point, I don't remember what year it was, our lake was still here, so we did a whole lot of work into it, but that was when somebody else.
Kirkwood,
Girdwood was reaching out. I don't know what it looked like when we were the only person doing it. Only city, sorry, doing it. So, yeah, we have some background information for sure on both. I mean, obviously, we didn't annex any. Only 6. But. What did Susan say when was that finally, when the lawsuits were all over in 2006 or something for the annexes? So, it's a very big.
Yeah.
Investment. And I think Susan sent a pretty in-depth, email that had borough and,
I'll have to go back.
Yeah. and also I think she had annexing in borough.
Okay, going back to our revenue conversation. Or, come on, yeah,
We're open Fridays.
okay, does that include surtax, blanket tax, across, applying that 7% across the board, so.
It does, the numbers here do not.
No, absolutely, but talking about that, does that also include with the short-term ed tax, which is 12%? Supposed to be double 6%, is my understanding, is that,
It's 13 right now.
is that
Because
there, okay.
it's
So
7% sales tax
is what-
6%.
Yeah,
Okay.
what they're
Okay.
proposing, which is.
Is that why we, did we
Painful.
talk about that? Where? I mean, I just don't know, I remember talking about it at Alden.
No, we only talked about the sales tax.
Okay.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about the
Yeah,
other.
it was solely so.
And I did run the numbers based on, what got brought in last year. And it would have increased it by 74,000, those three altogether. We're not talking,
It's not gonna fix our problem,
exactly, thank you.
so it's not gonna hurt, but is
It is gonna hurt the year-round businesses,
it,
because yes, the businesses aren't paying that, the clients are paying that, but when you can't get the clients to come because it's too expensive to come here, you lose that business. So yes, it does affect the year-round businesses.
Yeah, finding that sweet spot is the trick.
other ideas on types of use it, taxes, fees, yeah, I mean, there's instead of blanket taxes, blanket fee. Ideas, what do we got? Have we looked into some other coastal communities and ideas what they do for capturing? I know this always comes up every, at least time I've been involved with the budget conversation for capturing some more specific seasonal.
I know
Monies.
there's been a lot of discussion around the box, I know, Sam doesn't want me to
Don't
say
say
it.
it.
Don't say it.
I didn't say it,
That was thoroughly
that is a,
this last year.
yeah. So I'm not aware of any other thing that other coastal communities are doing that we're missing. I am going to, AML's having a tax conference later this month that I'm going to, so I'll be definitely paying attention to any other ideas that might be floating around there. But most of their agenda items are on specific taxes that we are already levying.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything in the agenda that I was like, what's that? So. But if there is, I will share it.
faster on
Fine.
marijuana. Changing the marijuana thing and promoting getting that in.
What's that?
Could always move a little faster on looking at the marijuana
Oh, right.
code. It is a source of income.
I do think it's being looked at. The state portion of it is really where it's heavily regulated, not so much from Cordova.
Susan sent out those comparisons as well. I think the biggest thing was we had added an additional 500 feet to the. 1,000, to make it 1,000.
To make it
feet
1,000.
from the schools.
We do a 1,000-foot buffer from the property line where the state measured it as a door-to-door measurement. When it comes to the distance from the specific uses that has to be placed away from. So the 1,000-foot buffer is a much larger restrictive area than if you measure the door-to-door distance between locations.
And I guess the other thing would be you have to go through a conditional use process.
And right. But I mean, door to door, we're talking from the school closest wall versus the school to the door.
No,
Or the front door of the establishment to
the legal pedestrian path, so for instance,
Okay.
like with Laura's, they have to be a certain distance from the school. And they are just outside of it because it's from their front door, following the shortest legal pedestrian path to the closest door of the school.
So there's an opportunity to revisit that, probably at the new year. I'll look at that. I think that's gonna be a solid win for next year, but potential for even something that works for 27. I guess, am I, from a business perspective, have you noticeably losing clients over our taxes?
It's close,
Okay, no, and that's totally valid.
and
Yeah.
it depends on the airline cost. Cause our cost, our cost is comparable to other costs, but then it's exorbitant for people to get here. So you take our comparable costs and you add an exorbitant travel cost and you lose clients.
Sure. And is that I imagine that's predominantly how you work, yes, or and you feel free, you don't have to disclose anything. you
Yeah,
don't wanna
no,
disclose.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I would say majority of our clients fly in.
Okay. Your industry, the fishing industry. I'm not in promoting any additional taxes or anything, but I don't know if you've heard of other communities, what they do to try to leverage.
I mean, I think that's the situation that I'm hearing from constituents in the fishing industry is that. We really need to look at how our tax structure, the pros and cons of it, because basically, there's a lot of people that base out of Cordova currently that don't have to base out of here. It's more convenient, and if we can make it more convenient for them, they do spend a lot of money.
What makes it more convenient for them?
Well, I mean, having, for example, if you're part of the Gillnet fleet, having places you can haul your boat out and store your boats, store your nets, and some of that's being provided here. But I think the other piece of the puzzle is we're seeing processor consolidation, and because part of that is that now the OBI plant is owned in conjunction with a plant in Valdez, and so I guess the conversation that seems like we need to have as a city is there anything that we can do to encourage them to continue using that plant? Because there's a lot of fish that had historically come through that plant that may not in the future, and that certainly derives revenue or provides revenue for the city. I've certainly heard from the Longline fleet that some of the boats that are not necessarily from our community, but had been delivering here, and when you deliver here, you tend to go to the grocery store or LFS, and I think it's good to keep in mind that when I was only a Gillnetter, I was spending $40,000 a year on nets, fuel, and just basic upkeep, and that was 15 years ago. So the Gillnet fleet spends a lot of money here, and so really I feel like we're in a situation that we can't tax our way out of. And so to me, I think the thing that we need to look at from the fishing industry's perspective is, so how do we encourage people to spend more time here? Because if they're here, they're gonna spend more money. And what can we do to just make it easy for people to be here, easy for them to do boat work, to have the services that people need to actually do that boat work, so that, people aren't going to Valdez to use their haul out because of pricing. And I think those are sort of the discussions that we need to have. And this isn't, I feel like we need to have a directed work session to look at this, because this is more than there's more legwork that would need to happen to really give it the justice that it needs, but that's where the majority of our city income comes from, and so I think we need to really do our due diligence to figure out how we can facilitate the industry a little bit more that will also benefit our community.
I mean, is that something that could go to the fisheries committee?
It is, but it needs to be beyond that. I mean, they can certainly give us some recommendations, but we need to, I think, have a work session. Looking directly at that. So, you know, for example. When we raised our, city tax from 6 to 7%. I don't think it would be too difficult to look back and see. Or we could even just kind of get an informal poll from the process of how many less online deliveries they're getting. Because it's just the same thing with your business, you know, when you're right on the edge, if it's cheaper to go to Yakutat. They're gonna go, if it's cheaper to go to Cordova for all the expenses, they're gonna come here, and so that's sort of the. Dilemma that we're in, and I understand that it takes staff time and. You know, I wanna be respectful of that, but it. There, if you look at the historical pictures of Cordova, there were boats from all different fleets that were tied up down there in that harbor, and that really helps. Drive different businesses, which is critical to our community's survival, in my opinion.
How do we encourage processors?
Well, I've spent some time talking to a variety of processors about that, and you know, I've gotten sort of mixed reviews and not mixed reviews, but sort of mixed answers about that. But you know, this year, for example, processors are buying later than they did last year, so there's more of the fleet that continues gill netting. They're buying later for the groundfish fisheries for longline, and you know. You see that reflected in receipts, it's not a huge difference this year, but it's some difference, and I think. Part of it is sort of. I guess having the reputation for it, oh yeah, they keep buying fish in Cordova till November or whatever, instead of, oh yeah, Cordova's been shut down in September. So don't even bother thinking about it, and so that, you know, it's gonna take time and it's gonna. I think the general consensus, and I'll know a little more, there's a UFA meeting here in 2 weeks in Kodiak. But the markets are strengthening, and so when the markets are strengthening. There's a little bit more margin for processors to stay open longer, so. You know, is there anything we can do specifically right now? I don't know the answer to that, I haven't specifically heard anything from the processors about what we can do, but. I think looking at some of these other. You know, tax incentives or, and I know that. This sort of happened before I got on the council, looking at 7%, but like the winter and summer variability, it's like we wanna encourage people to come here more than winter. Which is when the longline fisheries take place. I think maybe we should open it back up now that we can kind of compare and contrast what's happened. Since we've made changes, or, you know. Yeah, we're gonna have to make some tough choices, I think, but. Yeah, but we do have some data to look at.
I do agree with we can't tax our way out of this. The year-round residents that are not part of the fishing industry are taxed to the max. We just can't absorb any more tax increases. It's starting to be noticeable that people can't afford to live here. So, you know, I do think that conversation should be reopened. I was originally in favor of a split sales tax, you know, summer to winter, and, you know, I think we need to look at that again if you want to encourage winter business. But it's, the tax conversation has to be stopped at increase. There's just nothing left to increase. Tax wise.
I think. Is there an opportunity for the fishery advisory committee to maybe gather some information for a work session? Again, we're not talking this year, that's not gonna happen, this isn't a solution for this year. I understand that, but it's a conversation needs to have, they have, in theory, stood them up to kind of be close to that industry and hopefully be able to gather some information for us as what what would. Keep more fleet or bring more fleet here, bring more, but also we wanna retain what we have, we don't wanna lose what we have, so.
I mean, it seems to me that you'd have to look at businesses, which I don't know that that committee has the power to request that.
Right, and I don't know that it's
From local businesses.
from a business, but they do have access to the fleet, and the fleet's gonna talk, and they're gonna say.
Yeah,
This is what drove me to go to Valdez, or this is what drove me to go to Yakutat, or this is the thing that's keeping me here in Cordova, gathering that kind of information. Then we can partner with businesses or other things, or base policy off of that. The other thing, as you're speaking to that, is this, and we've been speaking about this for some time, is we just need to diversify. I mean, as we look at the fishing industry and the trajectory and the trends. And Cordova's in a place where we just have to diversify, have those conversations of what that looks like. And in that example, you know, if we're looking for examples there are other communities who have, we can partner with and look at, and this is an opportunity for us to continue conversation and partnership with the Chamber of Commerce for some, you know, those kind of entities, because it is business for some of those other diversifications, so. Yeah, and for me, that's, I think, a starting point, what people are leaving or people are staying. And I'd like to tell anyone who I talk to who might be complaining about Cordova, it's Cordova's choice, that also so is Valdez, also so is Yakutat, who was pushing that choice.
Vice Mayor Kinsman.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. This is all a very good discussion, and I think Mike has some good ideas. And I think it would behoove us to spend time on that. I do agree with all the other counselors who've spoken about no more increases in taxes. Some of the deficits that we're facing, though, are not in our bailiwick, but we could become a squeaky wheel. The forest receipts for roads and schools, that's just ridiculous that we are letting that slip by without talking to the folks in Washington on that one. That's just a given. I know this administration is difficult, but we can still write letters, we can still call our representatives, we can ask to speak to Murkowski, we can ask to speak to Begich, we can ask to speak to Sullivan. The state, just the same, you know, they're cutting everything with the state. Looking at that library grant, they haven't gotten a grant since 2022. That is one of the easiest grants to do, and I know that a lot of it has to do with budget cuts from the state. Well, we have an election coming up. We should, you know, get the candidates here and speak to them about the difficulties that we're having as a community. And I know we don't have a lobbyist anymore, but we do have constituent fairs, so we can go to Juneau. But those are all monies that really should be reinstated. Because that's out of our bailiwick, but both the state and the federal government have to recognize the effects it is having on small communities and rural communities. So I'm gonna focus a little bit on that because I think that's where we can pick up the ball. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sherman. With that though, and hopefully this is a bit of a wake-up call for us as Cordova, that it's not as prudent for us to depend solely on those fundings. I think moving forward, hopefully we learn that lesson and we can plan our budget accordingly. So I was very impressed and happy to see that reflected as we go into 26. So thank you. And it's hard, it's tough to see, but hopefully it sets us up for a realistic path and trajectory going into the future.
I just want to mention something, Kevin just cleared it for me. So we do have conditional use permit application on the Planning and Zoning Commission for marijuana establishment. With full understanding of all the rules. I didn't wanna say anything, telling you for sure, it was, it had actually been applied for and will be on the next P and Z.
Good, as I've been traveling around Southeast Alaska and we've seen that trend in some smaller communities, or smaller to equal sized communities that, oh, that does exist, that is a thing. So. This option, it is a piece, it's not the piece, it's not the win we need, but it's, yeah. It's
Diversification.
a win, it is diversification. But at the end of the day, that's, you know. Capturing money that's being spent somewhere else, which is great, that's one avenue for revenue, but it is, how are we attracting new people into our community, which is, of course, the. Well, hopefully $1 million question. And a broader conversation, and not anything that's gonna help us as we go into the 2026 budget, it's definitely forward thinking. Look forward to more of those conversations, because as we know, there's lots of expenses and deferred expenses and. Yeah,
We wanna talk about.
Yeah,
next
let's just-
meeting.
Moving into that.
yeah, maybe before we go into that, any other comments on revenue?
Yeah, I don't have any ideas, obviously.
No, that's fine.
26, but just to put it out on the table, and you had mentioned our Chamber of Commerce and supporting what they do, but bring in outside funding through visitors and recreators, and nothing to do right now, but when I think about how that is feasible, bringing in meaningful numbers of people that would recreate and spend money in our community, it has to do with the activities that we do in our community, right? So outdoor recreation activities and access is a huge issue for any kind of recreation visitors, and right now, access like our main road is miserable. And we're losing part of the road, maybe probably some of the folks in the room don't realize, but out at Sheridan River, it's slowly creeping towards the highway. And it's very likely gonna reach it probably next year, it looks like it's slowing down right now considerably, but there's nothing stopping it from hitting the highway. Potentially next year, we have similar conditions we had this summer. So, that's a state issue, but that's the backyard and the recreation that a lot of people come out here to do for events like Shorebird Festival or Fungus Festival, or people coming in for, Salmon Jam. Part of why they're coming here is because of where it is, and the recreation that access out onto the public land, so that's something I think we need to pay attention to. Hopefully foster more of that type of, activities. There's a bunch of things happening, hopefully, that have been in place, at least on the federal side, for outdoor recreation opportunities, and they're still happening. We'll see as this administration moves forward, those funding sources continue, like park and infrastructure law for new cabins and trail access, secure rural school type 2 funds, and that's obviously an unknown right now. But at any rate, I think we definitely need to foster and support those types of things moving forward as much as we can.
I mean, that's a good point as far as visitors, but it's, I think, even more important to recognize just quality of life for just our residents.
Absolutely, yeah, to keep people here that are, right, paying taxes.
Exactly.
I think the other important thing about that road is if that goes, we don't have access to our dump,
Yeah,
which is quality of life as well.
Yep.
right.
And a very serious concern.
It has unraveled massively in the last month.
A road.
I was just out there. Other revenue questions before we go into conversation on next meeting? Okay, go ahead, Sam.
What's up first? You want me to?
You can.
Okay. So. Just to cheer up the meeting a little bit more, we got general fund department head budgets back. So how we do this is we
For expenses.
expenses, I'm sorry. We figure out the revenue. You know, what we feel like taxes and all that, and we get that number. We ask for budgets from the department heads. And, you know, knowing it's a lean year, but not putting a lot of restrictions on it. And it's just our first round, we are looking at $1.2 million in the hole. So we're going back to the drawing board. we will not bring you a $1.2 million deficit. But I want you guys to understand that it's serious, like, we have been not eliminating positions, we have not filling positions for many years. We are pretty stretched out as far as what people are doing and working. There's a lot of expensive things we have. We have services that people really want and need. If we wanna keep fishermen here, if we wanna do these other things, so we have to understand how we're gonna make this happen, and I mean, I think we're at the point where, you know, there's a potential that we look at, you know, positions. We're, that is not what we wanna do, but I agree, we can't tax our way out of this, but we also have to keep what we have for revenue.
And if I may,
You may.
in the general fund, expenses, if we did a breakdown for personnel costs versus, let's say, operating costs. Operating costs was around $4 million, so to find 1.2 out of that is very difficult. So the reality of trying to find that could be in people, which is hard.
Can we see going into this budget segment, I think kind of alluded to it, but maybe hopefully I can be more clear with this ask. For each department, a percentage. What percentage of that department is spent on personnel and what percentage is, we'll just call it off.
Okay.
Yeah. Just that breakdown for each department.
And then I think the thing with personnel too is insurance is going up again.
Absolutely.
15% is our estimated at this point. You know, we have the cost of living increases and the step increases mandated by the union every year. So personnel is huge.
Well, I understand that, I know that from just my own business background. But I just wanna make sure the public really can clearly see when we're saying, hey, our budget is up this much, it's not because we're. I don't know, whatever, our operating expenses, although those go up, absolutely, you know, the cost of chip seal is gonna be more next year than it is this year, and those kind of things. But the personnel, and that's where it is, it's those kind of things like insurance and highlighting that it's whenever we know that exact number is up this and that.
Can provide that. So we're hoping to have that back to the drawing board look for you at the October 15th meeting.
Okay.
And then we're also working towards getting enterprise funds out to the department heads that are affected by that by the end of the week, and then back to the council for November 12th meeting, which was on our schedule. And we did get our audit submitted. Yay.
Done.
Didn't know that, yeah. Anyway, it went back and forth a lot, so I am happy to report that we made it on the 29th, right before the 30th deadline, and it is submitted. It will be presented to council on November 5th by the auditors. But it is complete and submitted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And congratulations.
Thanks.
Okay, any other comments from council members? Councilmember Sherman, anything from online? Staff, any final points?
It takes so long to unmute. I'm sorry. I just wanted to thank staff, Cheryl in particular, but for all the hard work, because I know how much goes into this, and it is a great format, and I really appreciate all the notes that have been made ahead of time. It lessens the questions, and it helps explain everything as we move forward. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
With that, doing a motion to adjourn, out of a work session?
What's that?
Do we need a motion to adjourn out of a work session?
Yes.
Just,
Well, you can.
okay, we are gonna adjourn, the city council work session of October 1st, 2025. We're back clock, 10-minute recess. Ready? Call to order the regular city council meeting of October 1st, 2025 at 7:01 PM. Please join me for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Going to a roll call
Vice Mayor Kinsman,
here.
Steve Zastro,
Here.
Deborah Adams. Absent. Wendy Rainey. Here. Aaron Hanson, absent. Mike Mickelson,
Here.
Kathy Sherman.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Going to the approval of the regular agenda. Is there any? Yeah, I guess we don't need to avoid so necessarily in that, but. We want anything to add to that? Yeah. Alright. We'll move on to disclosures of conflicts or interest. Of interest in ex parte communication. Okay. Hearing none. Let's see, communications by petitions from visitors, guest speakers, does not look like we have any. Audience comments regarding agenda items. So if anyone would like to speak on an agenda item that's before us, please come forward. You have 3 minutes, please state your name and your address. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jude from Dillon of 140 Prince William Marina Road. We would like to thank the city and community members for your time and for those who have been in support of our local business throughout the years. As you all know, it has been a very difficult and long journey for us regarding an offload dock. We have had several ideas within the town, however, with each idea that we have had comes with a bit of strong opposition. So this requires us to move cautiously and explore options. It is always our goal to keep all subgroups happy within the community. So with this letter of interest to purchase the T-Dock, we are doing our due diligence and just solely exploring options. Our goal with this T-Dock would be to maintain its current services to industry members with visions of improving it with new additional cranes and equipment. We would not take any services away that helps and grows our industry. We thank you so much for your time and consideration, and we look forward to further discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. Further audience comments? Do chairpersons, representatives, boards and commissions. I see, we're up here, how we doing?
Good. David Janko, with G10 in Harvard. I represent the city of Cordova on the board of directors with the Prince William Sound Regional Citizens Advisory Council. And it was just great welcoming the entire board and our staff on September 18th and 19th here in Cordova. Their RCAC's fall meeting rotates around some of the different entity members. And it was good to see a few of you poking your nose in and checking out the meeting and such. We had other events either side of it. One was the Tuesday night talk with the Science Center, and I really highly recommend our staff person, Dr. Danielle Verna, did a talk on how the Oil Pollution Act of 1990 shaped science into sound, and she just did a tremendous job reviewing what RCAC is, why it's there, how it happened, how the spill happened, and it is posted online. You can go on YouTube and just search PWS RCAC, and I think it's about the fourth one down, on the third or fourth one down on that page. I highly recommend it, especially for folks who kind of wonder what RCAC is and why it's in existence. The
Thank you, Colette, for slipping the highlights into the board packet for tonight too, in the almost last minute there. They covered it pretty well. The one thing that I was on our full report on the dispersants, oil companies are planning on using. They're phasing out the old Corexit 9500A. Not sure what they're gonna do with it all. It's like 80,000 gallons or something. And then they're getting a new approved one by the EPA. That has very sparse data on it. It's can't quite read my handwriting there. But it's called EcoSafe. Does that make you feel better about dispersants, huh? The problem with it is there's such sparse data on it. On any of it, it's just a marine safety data sheet, and which has very limited. It is approved by the EPA supposedly. And this new stuff, looking at it, very little difference in the composition, almost using the same makeup as the original. But there's no toxicity to human studies on it. There's no studies in kind of the conditions of Prince William Sound or on any of the marine life that could be exposed to it. It's a very concern to RCAC to keep track of this, and our feeling on dispersants is that it should not be used for North Slope crude in Prince William Sound. A lot of issues with that. Pressure water, it's cold, and it's just not effective, the type of oil. And even though the oil from the North Slope is changing, it's still, it's not dispersible. There's a lot of, some piece, news items recently, just last couple of days, I think the Alaska Beacon, I'm not sure if some of the other ones, the tank liners at the Valdez terminal, Valdez, city of Valdez is actually in, serious. I don't know, I think they maybe filed a lawsuit or not, but these liners were installed almost 50 years ago. And it was a very short time after they were installed that technology was not considered the best. So they're still using these 50-year-old tank liners for that. And they're changing around now how they want to try to test them or not. And they get a big discount, finance and to have those liners. And to have something that old and still get that same discount they've gotten for 50 years is in contention with Valdez, and RCAC is also very concerned about it. TK Tankers did a nice report on how they're training their tankers and personnel. This is the company that will be doing the new field coming online next year, and it's going to be all export, so they're going to be all foreign tankers. But they gave a nice report on how they're vetting their tankers and training their personnel. The West Coast just cannot handle more oil. They can't even handle the oil we're producing now. There's no storage capacity on the West Coast. Some refineries are even scheduled to close. They're supposedly getting a bailout from California, government of California, possibly not close. So we're gonna see a lot more of our oil. It's not making us more independent because we can't handle it, so it's just gonna get exported, and quite often that's through foreign tankers. The GRS workshop a couple of weeks ago, as well as a report we received on that for the Copper River Delta and Flats, it's moving along well. It's mainly to be able to educate responders in case something does start drifting or blowing that direction, that there's some good, solid information about what's there and what, if anything, can be done. So it's been a real gap in the spill response system that's moving along. So our next meeting will be January in Anchorage, May in Valdez, September in Whittier. December 4th, if you're in Anchorage, we do a science night every year, open to the public. We also have a planning meeting too. Just what we want to do is somebody else's planning meeting. But the science night is very good. We've got some great speakers coming in, and those are up online as well. So if there's any questions, I'd like to take those. I'll leave it to next time.
Anything online, Councilmember Sherman?
She has her hand up.
No, but thank you for the update, Dave. That was really good.
Thanks, and if you know anybody, we've got 5 standing committees. Research, terminal operations, spill response. And of course, always kind of keeping track of the board positions. The board is heavy, gray-haired guys, so it'd be nice to get some other representation at some point. Committees are a little better, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you, thanks, that was great. You have, Court of the Fisheries Committee recommendation. Anything you want to speak to that, or just what's before us?
Pretty much just what's before, no questions in here.
I guess my question then would be, what action do you need from us as council?
Hey guys, Kelsey Hayden. Be great to have a letter into Board of Fish proposing these ACRs that are before you. I think I sent a link of those to you, Casey. Like you probably read them. There's various ones that request to shut down the Copper River until June 1st, June 30th. Also shutting down the Sayou. The department came out with their comments and was against all of them, so hopefully that helps in our favor. Yeah, we have a few letters in from the city. I believe MDE submitting one, CDFU is opposing these. Then I think that'll be helpful.
What's the deadline?
The
When's the meeting?
comment deadline is October 13th, and the meeting is, I think, a week after that.
Okay.
So that's kind of why it was a little bit of a rush getting these to you guys. But thank you, Colette, for helping with all of that too.
So now is the letter in the packet, what you guys are.
That's kind of what we drafted for you guys to submit.
Right.
You can submit whatever you wanted. We just thought it would be helpful as the fisheries committee to kind of draft something for you.
That is always helpful. If you can, I don't know, do we can bring that at a pending agenda, we could work with this, I can reach out to. Yeah. Mayor Smith also. And. Susan, when she available again?
She'll be back on Tuesday.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Any other chairpersons and or representatives for the commissions? Okay. Brings us to approval of the consent calendar. Roll call.
Mike Mickelson,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey. Yes. Steve Zastro,
Yes.
and the council member Casey Kinsman.
Yes. Part of the consent calendar was the approval of minutes, there's no consideration of bids, proposals. Going into reports of officers. No, sounds like Mayor Smith's kind of offline the rest of the month or so. Yeah, I understand. Do we have,
Well, I'm trying to catch up, took some time off, it's nice, it was warm.
good,
And just head into budget. It's a lot. We spend a lot of time on it. We will continue to spend a lot of time on it. I did wanna, talk about how I feel like the finance department has worked really hard. I think this is an important thing for the council to be aware of, to enforce and get late sales tax. All those rules that we talked about when we put in the taxes, and you can see that showing up in the budget. revenue area, and they've done a lot of work to make that happen, not always a fun job. But it has been successful and we'll continue to work on that, and I think that was a big push last year, and it's been taken seriously and moving forward. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough couple months. So. Yeah, we'll be having lots of meetings, lots of time together. Really all of that, unless anybody has questions.
Anything from council members? I know there was some updates last meeting, and if that's okay, if there's no further ones, one that the community is going to hear, any updates that you have on pool?
Come on up.
The last meeting, the updates there were very hopeful.
I think they're still very hopeful, always. So Peterson's is coming in between the 13th and the 17th to start work on the pool. I think I stated last meeting that we're under contract with Renosis for them to come back in. We won't have a date for them to come back in until Peterson's is done, but they are looking out until the end of November right now. So, or at least we're on the list. So once Peterson's is done, we'll get a technician in to sew the pool back up.
And then, that's fine, those are all crystal ball things, but things that we have some, we know how long it takes to build a pool and those kind of things.
Yeah.
How long does that take?
It takes, realistically,
Yep, that's what we want.
for, I would say, 2.5 to 3 weeks to roll the pool up and get the chemicals right. I've let, my commission know and hopefully the community, I have a lot of lifeguards that have lapsed their certifications, so as soon as we do get the pool up and running, I've kept my certifications current, and so is Logan, and we'll run some lifeguarding courses, so, for that.
We have a pool for that at least, I mean, like a pool of individuals.
Oh, yeah,
who-
definitely,
okay.
everybody's, we have a lot of people that lapsed in November, we had a big class a couple of years ago, and unfortunately, we're gonna miss that deadline, so.
Yes, that's right.
Just curiosity, it's not pool related or necessarily, Parks and Rec related, but I understand that the field looking at trying to go on a worker class.
I did hear that, I put out, I was contacted about it, just to see if anybody I knew would wanna do it, so,
So I'm sure you were aware of it.
yeah.
And just a note, I really appreciate, I know you had a meeting last night, I really appreciate those being videoed now.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I've got a lot of, really appreciate that.
That is very helpful across. I think we're moving more and more in that direction. So thank you for that. Thanks. And then, not that I necessarily expect anything, but any updates on vacant positions? It sounds like last time there was maybe an offer made. Maybe I just heard, I was just watching.
We have, so the police chief, a police officer, and one fireman.
In the hiring process or offers made or vacancies?
No applications for the
Okay.
first two, and I haven't, Aaron's been out of town, and I haven't caught up with him on where he is on that final.
I mean, and are other communities having issues finding a finance director? Do we
Yes.
know?
It's across the board.
Is there, and I don't expect an answer, just throwing something out there, opportunity to co-op with share a resource with another community? Is that better than not having anything? I don't know.
Yeah, some thought.
Yeah.
I don't know either.
Need for city manager? Yeah. Going on to the city clerk. Anything from you, Glenn?
I don't have anything, I did check my calendar, students should be back tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And anything from council for the clerk? Brings us to correspondence. Any comments before you? Yeah, heard comments and maybe where this would be brought up at, but sounds like it's a resounding interest from the community for some different option for the envelopes that go out to our senior citizens with something, I don't know what that feasibility looks like, or council input. Obviously, we want to set everyone up for success. We do represent our community and sitting in these seats, and there's been a lot of comments about it. Again, I don't know, if there's necessarily a pending agenda item there, but we may need to give some direction to staff on that. We want to see something that's done.
I think it's suggestion here, it seems like, you know, but, I'm gonna preface this by saying that I haven't gone and not fully caught up. But it does seem like, you know, from reading the letters and hearing the dialogue on this, it probably would not be a huge ask, and correct me if I'm wrong, to put something on the envelope. As was suggested by one of the commenters, just saying what it is on the outside of the envelope, differentiating it from other bills or correspondence that you get from the city. Do you feel like that would be burdensome?
Or you don't have to answer, you can get back to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no, rule or, you know, code saying that that's part of the procedure.
Okay.
And then, I mean, then where would you go from there on every single correspondence?
Fair enough.
The city sends out only important things. So what to stamp, what to not stamp or stamp
Yeah.
anything now, what would it say?
Yeah. Fair enough.
All things to think about. I guess it wouldn't be. I mean, it depends on what we're stamping, because
Yeah.
Vice Mayor,
I think in this situation,
the number. The number of envelopes, like, if it's. Something that they have to re-sign up for, it could be, I mean, that was about 200, shy of 200 letters that went out at that time. So I'd be hand stamping those, which
Okay.
you do, but
If it can print, that is an option.
on envelopes, yeah,
Yeah,
we haven't done that, but yeah, it's
it is an option.
an option.
The technology exists, how about that? Yes, Councilmember Sasha,
I stepped on Councilmember Rainey.
Councilmember Rainey.
I think that it needs to be said too, while I do, you know, I definitely support the members of this community, but it's a discount. And I think if that discount is important to you, that it's your responsibility to be able to follow a calendar and apply for it. If you need to apply for it, I think, you know, asking that the city take one more step with that opens the door to, okay, well, if they stamp it for that, then what's next? And what else do we have to stamp it for? I mean, if you're not gonna be here and you're gonna be gone, like Colette said, the city does not spam us with unnecessary mailings. If there's something coming from the city, it's a bill or a notice. So you need to open it. And if you're expecting a discount for something and there's a deadline, it's gotta be on you at some point to apply for the discount. I mean, at some point, we can't hold everybody's hands for this.
And to be, I guess, the other side of that, this was the first year that we were requiring a reapplication. And so if this was always the norm and we'd always done it this year and everyone every year knew they had to do it versus what we had historically was a one-time, you go one time and you're good. And this year we're saying, hey, every year. So I fully expect the attention we're getting will have a far better response rate next year. Well, absolutely. But just absolutely want conversation on it. Want to make sure the public knows that it's being heard. Is there the other thing I was thinking, an opportunity to send these out sooner, to suppose they have to be sent out by a certain time? I don't know.
It doesn't, and
Okay,
it happened directly after the ordinance was passed, so that was part of the timeframe.
I think. And I guess another point on that is there an opportunity to make this form available online for individuals who clearly that's an overwhelming, people travel, people aren't here all the time. And that maybe some correspondence on that as well, or auction and then correspondence on that, even Facebook.
It is online.
It currently is online or it can be online.
No, the application is currently online, it has been online.
Perfect. So public, if you're listening, you can get your senior exemption application online. And you can submit it. Do we know the deadline right now?
January 15th.
January 15th.
Every year.
January 15th, and this exemption is required every year now.
Well, I will say that if they've already, because the code has not changed of when they need to apply. So if they were already approved and participating in the program, they don't have to apply every single year per our code. The clarification is that it is a yearly exemption, which means your qualifications to qualify to get the exemption is based on your activity in passing those qualifications yearly. As long as nothing has changed on those qualifications, Cordova does not require them to reapply every single year.
And the application fee is a one-time.
The new fee to apply is for when you have to reapply. So if someone
Only
was
when you
denied,
apply.
if you don't have it already, then you have to fill out a form that has a fee.
And I just gave incorrect information, so I apologize for confusion. Thank you, Colette, for clarifying that. So if you haven't applied or you need to apply, you can find your form online. And pay your fee, and then do that by January 15th. So again, my apologies for that confusion. And thank you for the conversation, dialogue, and acknowledgement of concerns from the citizens of Cordova. No unfinished business. There's no ordinances and resolutions. There's no unfinished business. So new and miscellaneous business. We have before us letter of interest for the city TDOT APS 220 portion of lot 8, Tidewater Development part and portion of lot 1, block 7 Alpha, Tidewater Development Park.
Mayor,
Yes.
I move to dispose of a portion of ATS 220, a portion of block 8, Tidewater Development Park, and a portion of lot 1, block 7A, Tidewater Development Park, approximately 17,352 square feet in size, as outlined in Cordova Municipal Code 7.40.060B by requested sealed proposals to lease or purchase the property.
A second. Okay. So Councilmember Rainey.
So I did watch both the Harbor Commission and the Planning and Zoning Commission's meetings on this topic of discussion. And I think that, you know, while there definitely are valid points, I think that, you know, we're coming into budget time, we're coming into looking at infrastructure and times when we need to think creatively about our infrastructure and how to keep it functioning. You're looking at a business who has definitely in its best interest to continue to work within the industry and other commercial entities, and has basically come against a brick wall with other suggestions. I think, you know, that the TDOC is gonna need some maintenance coming up. I mean, it's definitely infrastructure that's gonna need some work done. And I think that privatizing it, might be a good way to save on some funds. You know, like I said before, I would really like to see from the harbor master, how much income is made from the TDOT. And, if that's possible, or if that's not possible because it's tied in with the ocean dock, then I'd like to see a breakout of the income from both, because I think it would be pretty easy to roll that back and say, okay, Sampson is the ocean dock. Linden is the ocean dock, and let us see what exactly the city makes from the T-Dock as far as revenue. But with that question outstanding, I think that this could only benefit us financially.
Come on up. Ready, dear.
Evening. So figure out, we don't separate them out, dockage is dockage. So I did look at it, we figured it just standard dockage. And I pulled out what I thought, I knew what Sampson was and Shoreside was. So those ones were pretty easy to pull out, about $14,000 a year on the T-Dock. That does not include wharfage. For like 60 Degree North, what they bring in. So I can't give you an exact number on that, but when you figure in everything else, we figure close to 100,000. So they pay the raw fish tax and then pay a wharfage fee to the harbor. They pay the harbor to use the dock, so. And then, of course, their user agreement, their dock use agreement.
Yeah, they have a lease on that.
Well, it's not really a lease, it's a fishery season dock use agreement, but yeah, and that's $330 a day they pay. So whenever they're buying fish. So.
I mean, and looking at requested sealed proposals, obviously, doesn't necessarily mean that we automatically agree to one of those proposals, but I think looking forward with revenue issues, it could only benefit us to kind of expand the box and look at some other opportunities for income.
Tony, if you're okay to staying up here, I'm gonna go around the table for council members. If anyone disagrees with that, okay, council members Ash.
Thank you. I brought it up back for the discussion, obviously. I had quite a few concerns, the same concerns that the Harbor Commission had and brought forward in our package. And one of the primary questions that you just answered, if you could get more information about what the city does get out of allowing the public to use it and the fees we collect, what the cost would be in maintaining it for the next 5 to 10 years, what that looks like, and how our fees that we collect might offset that. I'm also concerned that we're losing a public infrastructure that would go into private hands. And then once it's in private hands, although the petitioner is saying that they would allow for other uses, they don't have to. And that's a huge concern for me. So, yeah, I'm struggling with this going out of city hands into private hands for all those reasons. So I think more information is gonna be helpful, determine if this is an asset we feel we can, dispose of or not. Right now, it feels like it'd be hard to see this go without marketing.
Nicholson, I'm certainly in support of the proposers here. I guess to really make a good decision, our large vessel traffic is gonna be routed to the ocean dock, which doesn't have cranes. So it would be nice to know at least ballpark of what those cranes that went on the new floating dock, like how much they cost and how realistic you think it would be to put those on something like that on the ocean dock without impeding our current uses of it, if it's possible to do that, because I think that's definitely something that we would need to look at. And then beyond that is looking at 60 North, obviously there's some other docks around the harbor that have been used by various smaller processors, and just making sure that we have a pathway for them to go forward. And yeah, I think that's really I just wanna know the contingencies, I guess, if we're gonna consider this, which, some of this was gotten into the Harbor Commission's report, but I think just having a little bit more information for us about how you could see traffic being rerouted or what the disadvantages would be for those larger vessels, because we want to continue to provide service for them.
Yeah, I would say my biggest problem with the ocean dock being the rerouting place is that, well, we put them further from town. So I mean, those bigger vessels are less likely to maybe come to town, they don't have a vehicle here or whatever. But if we start putting cranes on the ocean dock, that one has a security issue. Sampson offloads there, and Shoreside offloads the fuel there, and anytime that has what they call a mitzvah vessel on it, no one is allowed on that dock. So you start getting people out there in the middle of doing a project offloading 1 million pounds of fish, and yeah, we're like, hey, you gotta go. You know, you can't be here. Sampson and Shoreside have priority out there, and the dock is closed off to anyone walking out there. So, so that would be my one issue, is that you gotta look at that side of it. You know, summer is pretty busy with Shoreside and Sampson out there.
Thank you. All right, online, Councilmember Sherman.
Sure, thank you. I had all of the similar questions that have been asked so far. I'm not in favor of selling the T-Dock. I would be in favor of leasing it, but I'm also very much supportive of CAM2's operation and trying to accommodate this business as well as other businesses in our town as much as we possibly can. I see a lot of difficulties in giving up the city owned T-Dock. So I guess I would prefer to have this referred back to staff. I'd like to know a better breakdown of dockage fees. You know, I've read and listened to the commissions as well, but and how, but those dockage fees are one thing. I'd like to see some numbers. I'd like to know how it would affect Shoreside, Sampson, as Tony just mentioned. I'd like to know how it would affect other processors and other vessels that use that area as well. And then I'm going to go back and revisit some of the other proposals that CAM2 has put forward to us. Maybe we can revisit some of those if there's some other way we can assist them in their offload. But I'm not prepared to vote to sell this or put it out as an RFP.
And for myself, just some questions around leasing. I think I know the answer, as we put it out for lease, this or any other proposal that might come in. We're in a position where we can kind of dictate terms and stipulations, correct? They don't have to agree to them, obviously, whoever is selected, but we have that ability to do that.
Yep.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's out there and that I know that everyone knows that. So, that I guess I would be looking for staff if we were to lease this, what stipulations would we want to see? Is that a fair ask? What would be affected by leaving? What would we want to see remain? What access would we want to see? The lease. I guess generally, this very specific business, I'm sure I'm missing something, but I can count of 3 things that they've been trying to work on in one way or another, and they've received opposition from the community and from council in some ways, one way or another. At some point, the community, we have a business who wants to help offset some of your taxes by doing business in the community, bringing more businesses and business and into our community. And so by perpetually saying no to that, you are then saying yes to more tax. I mean, it's not a direct 1-for-1, but that is, the revenue has to come from somewhere. So we are looking at outside revenue, outside of the backs of the citizens of Cordova. So keep that in mind to whomever might be listening. Another round? Anyone else have anything to say? I think the current motion is, go ahead.
I just want to clarify.
Please.
If you guys have any questions, let me know. So when you talk about referring it back to staff and you're asking if we lease it, are you asking us to bring you back the terms that we feel like would be in the staff ultimately, or in the lease, ultimately that's your decision,
Absolutely.
before you put it out to lease? Are you, so you're asking for this information, the terms that would be in the lease, or potentially in the lease,
What
before an RFP goes out?
I only can think if there's any interest from the public on this specific piece of property, if I was putting a bid onto it, it'd be really nice to know before I put all this time in to, okay, these are the things that we would want as a council, recommendations, and as a council, then I can decide, is this even viable for me to do or not? I know it's a little backwards, I understand that.
Well, and the thing that I am a little concerned about is, I guess we put some kind of disclaimer in there, because what we say now, you know, may be different
Okay.
in the future, I
Absolutely.
mean, because. Yeah, okay.
Vice Mayor Kinsman,
Yes, Member Sherman.
I'm gonna very politely disagree with you. I think that's too much information to ask staff to put together at this time. I think we need to know a little bit more about what revenue we make from the dockage. And I'd say Ocean Dock, T-Dock, who uses it, how we're gonna do. I think all that is way more important right now, and I think we're giving our hand away if we go ahead and get all that other information out there. So I'm gonna politely disagree with you on that request.
Okay. And if I'm.
Yeah.
I agree with everything that Councilmember Sherman just said, and also too, I have a hard time asking people to provide their proposals when we're just out there looking for information. That's a lot of work to put in a proposal for us to just to say no, because we don't have, well, get more information, and that information helps us determine we don't want to release the stuff. I hate to put people through that kind of work, not knowing that we're truly making it available.
Just
Yeah,
one more
please.
clarification, because
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that the motion was lease or purchase. So do you wanna address both of those if it was to go out to an RFP? If you don't refer back to staff, I want it clarified in the motion so that we
Absolutely.
understand what we are putting out in the RFP.
So I think the correct process is we need to vote on the motion on the table. And then we can amend that from vote, we amend now to, it sounds like there's a lot of,
Refer back, who said refer back to staff?
That was good.
it wasn't, I was the last person that spoke, so.
Okay,
Kathy.
sure thing. Yeah, I think it was sure.
The initial,
So we need to amend.
The maker.
the maker needs to amend their statement, what it should be, and then you go off of the amendment and vote on that.
Or, but Kathy.
Vice Mayor Kinsman,
Yes, Councilmember Sherman.
I would ask the motion maker if she would accept an amendment to her motion to refer it back to staff until we have more revenue information on the current uses of that dock and not put together an RFP until we have further discussion and informational background in front of us.
Yes,
Second.
what she said, as long as it doesn't kill it, because I would like some more information
Refer back to staff.
to refer back to staff.
And
Do you wanna come up or are you pointing at something?
Did I come up?
Yes.
No, yell from back there.
Just. I think what you're asking staff to do on the economic front is very feasible and we can get that information. But asking us to go back and then come back to you with recommended conditions. We would have no idea where to start. We don't know what the community's uses are. We don't know who the users are. We don't know what sort of conditions need to be put in place to protect the interests. What are your interests that you want protected?
I'm not, the motion is not looking for that, the motion.
That was
is
purely me
That was-
looking at that, and
I just,
Yeah.
I wanted to.
Looking for financial.
turned down by everyone else.
Okay.
Don't listen to him.
I
You're
think it
listening
was
to-
outlined by council members.
Yeah.
So what I have is Ocean Dock, there's no cranes, what's the cost of new cranes? What does that look like? What is a traffic vessel? Movement from city dock to. No,
To Ocean
T
Dock.
dock to
T
Ocean
dock,
Dock.
Ocean Dock.
60° north, what are the other options in the harbor or area for that kind of small scale fish? And how much do we make on dockage fees? What is the outlook for, maintenance? And, short-sighted Samson and other vessels on the
Yeah.
other things, how does that affect larger vessels
Yeah.
using that dock?
Yes.
Are we, anything I missed?
Actually,
You're good? Okay.
And then if I could just add, we have an RFP that's about to close related to the breakwater fill lot. And so then soon you'll be seeing proposals in front of you for the breakwater fill lot, which includes a proposal from the applicants from this land letter of interest as well, so. There's a lot going on with that, so just want to let you know that those are still coming up as well, so.
Thank you.
I guess the one thing that, from reading the comments on here from the Harvard. Going. It seems like. If there's a way to consider. Partial lease, not just the agreement that we have, you know, so for example, if it's 300 feet long. I guess getting the input, if we leased 100 feet of it or 150 feet, would that still allow the largest vessel that has tied up to be in there? And then is there a way to do, I guess, shared ownership of the way in, or do we wanna have that separate, or, you know, it seems like there may be a way to kind of. Nobody gets exactly what we want, but everybody gets something.
I think those answers might be more obvious to us once we see financial impact.
Yeah.
So that maybe that's the next discussion then, after we get the information from staff. And we see what the big picture of the harbor looks like between those two docks. Then that conversation is the next conversation. Do we want, I mean, can we afford to sell the dock? Can we look at a partial lease? You know, what are our options? But we don't really know what we're dealing with until we see the whole financial picture and the bigger picture of users.
I definitely like to know the max length of vessel that ties there, because I think that is a real pertinent conversation. And the other thing too, with the ocean dock, you know. I've driven by it lots of times going to the fuel dock, but. You know, obviously you can't have other vessels or people using it, but just to kind of know the footprint of the barge, how much space it takes up, would it be feasible? You know, even considering when they're not using it, to have something in there that would be in their way, I mean.
Tony, they can't even, if the barge is there,
Nobody else.
Yeah, nobody's allowed to use it, but
Okay.
is there space? Considering that the barge isn't there, where you're not gonna be impeding there.
Yeah, I would not say there's not space. If you kept those cranes close together, if you put two out there, you kept them fairly close together. The barge roughly, I think is around 400 feet, the space they take up. So yeah, there's definitely on the ocean docks, some room there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
or the cranes.
Right, so the motion as amended. Get a vote on that. So,
You have to read the whole thing
so as in full.
as amended. For the record, before they vote, so they know what they're voting on.
Let's do, thank you.
Yeah.
For the motion on the table, letter of interest. Not even. Alright, so the letter of interest for the city T dock located on a portion of ATS 220, portion of lot 8, Tidewater Development Park. And a portion of lot 1, block 7 Alpha, Tidewater Development Park. Has been deferred back to staff for further information. To be deferred back to staff for further information. Then, is everyone clear on what they're voting on? Okay. All right, let's go with Councilmember Astro. Yes. And Councilmember Mickelson.
Yes.
Councilmember Rainey.
Yes.
And Councilmember Sherman.
Yes.
And myself as a council member, Kinsman. Yes. Okay.
Motion passes.
And thank you for the conversation. Good dialogue there. Thanks for the insight from staff. That brings us to pending agenda. Anyone wants to talk about, I guess, we have the rest of our budget meetings kind of mapped out.
Should be on the calendar.
Got,
Um,
if there's anything in the other or in addition to.
I've got, so for the 15th, we're shooting for the 15th. Our goal is to make it there, but we may have to push that meeting back to the 29th. We can't do it on the 22nd because you guys get to be, you're the Board of Adjustments. We will let you know. But our goal is to have it on the 15th because we're going to have some discussions.
So another budget work session on Friday,
Mhm.
and we're still in the air on the 20th.
Correct.
Do we know if Mayor Smith will be here on the 15th? I will not be here.
I think she's back.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there was a
It's
question
only
about
been
the
off for free.
22nd.
Yeah,
I think.
I'll be here, if I, yeah, adjusting my schedule, I'll be here the 22nd.
Damn, I thought I was gonna get down.
I'm glad to be on vacation after doing it, so you don't want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, pending agenda, we're, inundated right now with. For the new year, we want to put something out there for. Maybe there's, we had some good conversation about the. Maybe a work session with the. Fishery Advisory Committee. But on the agenda, I think that would be pending agenda. Okay.
Maybe we could call it, tax implications for the fishing fleet.
Sounds harsh.
Or strategic planning.
There you go.
Yeah. Strategic planning. Better.
Sounds harsh.
I think what that will, you wanna work with Susan or with the advisory board directly and getting, I think we had some guidance on some questions that, prior to whenever this meeting might be or work session might be, would be good to have some answers for her.
Vice Mayor Kinsman.
Yes. I'm
Do we have on there a letter of support or a resolution for the Board of Fish actions from our fisheries committee for the mayor to sign? If it's just a letter, I think she can just sign that, or you could sign it.
Yeah, as council, we had a chance to read what Chelsea has provided us. We in support of sending that out, putting all our endorsements on
Yeah.
Yes.
it. Perfect. And I will, he said Susan's back tomorrow, so I'm back to work tomorrow, back in town tomorrow.
I think the work.
Okay, well, I'm in town, so I'll stop by tomorrow or Friday or both, and we'll get that sent out. Thank you. Again, gonna work with Mayor Smith when she's back in town and just getting some, I was talked about in the last council meeting and just touch base with her on any kind of resolution or impact and support for whatever we need to do to get DOT more staff. I know it's not gonna happen tomorrow. I know it's gonna take more than one community to put some input, but it's definitely not gonna hurt for us to put a resolution out there to. We're down to one DOT airport manager / yeah.
Can I, and again, I'm gonna apologize, but I've been absent and not paying super close attention, but I'm back. So, when I left, we had talked about having a joint meeting, in terms of the future of healthcare in Cordova. Has anything happened on that? Has that been gone, or we have not, you've been meeting for, are we at a quarterly basis with meeting the board? We've established a board, right? Or represent our board, but.
I guess, okay, so we talked about, working with NVE on potential purchase of the hospital, are you more discussing like the health services board that we? had joint
Meeting with NDE, I mean, that's kind of where things were left.
Yes,
We
we
said
have.
sometime in the fall, we were gonna have some sort of joint meeting between the.
Okay, I think I follow you now. So we, Paula and I put together a
Committee.
outline and the committee, we
Yeah.
enacted that committee. And we put that forward, we communicated with NVE, they've reached back out to us, asked some questions, we've given them some more data. And they are now working through that data. So that timeline is kind of variable on when we come to a place where
When they're
everybody's
ready.
questions are answered.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Other items? Yeah, thank you, we're in the budget season, it's gonna, that's all extra time and then some, so. With that. Audience participation on anything, go ahead, if you have something to say, please come forward, state your name. Your address and.
Hello, my name is Jeremiah, I reside at 317 First Street. I'm here today representing the Cordova Copper Star. Want to thank the council for reviewing the travel list issue with city management at the last meeting. Hopefully the council has better understanding and visibility of the incident now and will consider being more involved in resolving the issue moving forward. Our business has been severely damaged, pretty much destroyed. By the city's negligence, which has also impacted local jobs, the canneries, the fishing fleet, and ensuring our harbor resources are properly maintained and this type of incident doesn't reoccur is very critical to our community. Unfortunately, based on the city's official response to our claims, I have no doubt that staff continue to misrepresent the incident and that their extreme negligence that caused the matter. City management even filed a counterclaim against my business for their own negligence. So I understand no one wants to admit to wrongdoing or putting their job on the line, but hiding the incident and denying the truth is really unacceptable. So I want to reiterate a couple points for city council and the community. You can anticipate to see me here every meeting that I'm in town, probably with more comments until this is resolved. The city travel lift agreement form is very specific to 1 calendar year. The responsibility to collect that form annually or ensure vessel representatives agree to the terms hidden online is the onus on the city, not the vessel owners. Trying to deflect responsibility for the travel lift incident on a single form signed 7 years ago and clearly specific to 1 calendar year is absurd. The city acknowledges in their claim the travel lift locked up and free spooled when attempting to haul out our vessel, both of which indicate a mechanical failure that a trained operator should have halted operations and investigated. The city was not maintaining the travel lift properly per the vendor's recommendations and breached a basic duty of care to the business, my business, and the community. The council can easily validate these facts, our other claims, and staff's extreme negligence by reviewing our public record requests. If the council does not take this seriously and properly guide management to resolve the matter, I fear the same incompetence that caused the incident will push this issue into years of unnecessary cost, time, and wasted resources. Please review the public records, ask management the hard questions, and push insurance to get our claims resolved so we can all focus our efforts on better things for the community. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other audience participation? And now we'll go into council comments. Start with, Councilmember Mickelson.
Well, I would like to thank the staff for everything we had, and especially the, work session before this. That's very helpful. I really think, I said it before, but we can't tax our way out of the situation that we're in. So we're gonna have to make some hard choices this winter, and, hoping that we can, reach out to our federal delegation for forest receipts and things like that, but as, Councilman Kinsman has articulated, we shouldn't be structuring our budget around things that were once reliable and now we're not. So, I do think that we really need to look at our tax structure and figure out how to encourage local businesses to continue working here and try to do some things to attract businesses. As we know, the fish processing sector is vital to this community, and we need to do everything in our power to support them to continue getting revenue and continue operating all of the services that we have that make life in Cordova palatable. So I'm looking forward to spending some time this winter to come up with solutions to these things. Thank you. We'll go Councilmember Rainey.
Thank you to Cheryl and Sam, especially Cheryl, for the numbers. That was extremely helpful. Kelsey, I appreciate the letter for us. It certainly helps us when there's something written out, and all we have to do is say, yes, what she said. Thank you to the committee for keeping up on things. It's very difficult in this chair, especially when it's not in your everyday windshield, keeping up with everything that's going on. I did attend specifically the oil spill response for the Copper River Delta sections of the RCAC meeting, and it was pretty enlightening. I think it's something we definitely need to keep an eye on. The things that are suggested and the information that they need from the local community and from the user group that's here, and that's very helpful for them. You know, just the small group that attended there, we were able to shed some light on, you know, what works, what doesn't work, what's realistic, and, you know, help them to create a better picture of the Copper River Delta. The online meetings, being able to watch those is huge. With knowing that the TDOT was coming up, you know, specifically being able to watch the Harbor Commission meeting and the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting helps us to get, you know, the reports are great, but it's better to be able to watch all the input from the community and the conversations that happen in those meetings. So it does add to our plate, but I appreciate those being online. At least you can do it in fuzzy slippers and you don't have to attend. So that's amazing. And yeah, thanks to staff. Appreciate Jeremiah coming, bringing things to our attention. I don't know what we can do about it, but I do appreciate you communicating to us. And with that, good meeting. Thank you.
And Councilmember Sherman online.
Yes, thank you. It was a good meeting. I'm grateful for everything that is online because even when you're not in town for the meetings, you can watch a lot of it. And I did get to see Daniel's presentation for RCAC. I don't have anything to add except for a big hello from Carol Merritt, who is, I'm sitting in her driveway right now. So that's it.
Cool. Thank you. Council members, Ash.
Thank you. Yeah, as always, thank you to staff. Beginning of budget season, I also very much appreciate the approach of being realistic in our view on what our revenue is and not over expecting what we're gonna be bringing in different areas. So I think that's a good start, and it's gonna be an interesting couple of months for sure. So I know you all are very busy about helping us make the right decisions. I also like to comment on Camp Two's request for the proposal with the TDOT. I want to recognize that they've been working really hard to find solutions for their needs as well. And I think where we can, with all the different options that they've thrown out to be able to expand their business, we definitely should be able to hopefully find something that helps them land in a spot where they can continue to do well and expand. Last thing is, just a heads up, everybody probably recognizes this, but, federal government's at shutdown right now. And that's significant for our community here in that we do have one organization, the Forest Service, that, has a lot of permanent employees that work here that are not, working right now. There's a handful of people that are, very limited number of people, but everybody else is not getting paid. Who knows how long it's gonna last? But the effects kind of on the community, when it comes to opportunities, the way it's set up this year, this shutdown's quite a bit different. Everything is open in that, recreation opportunities, those types of things aren't closed like they have been in the past, so people shouldn't see any difference there. But, the office is closed. There's, one person over there, which is the district ranger, and our law enforcement officers on duty still, but everybody else is not working. Hopefully it won't last long. But, just be aware that, this has an effect on our community when the federal government shuts down in a variety of ways, not just with the Forest Service, but in many other ways. So, keep that on your radars. Great meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the comments. And this one, the budget meeting, I do want to thank, staff, Cheryl, for our at least mid-year review of the budget. It is helpful. Helps us be prepared to have these conversations and just, indifferent, I mean, good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter. There's conversations that need to have, that's important. Hopefully that will help set us up for success, as we go into the rest of our meetings before we pass the budget. And for the public, yeah, this is opportunity to be involved and make comments, these work sessions, always open for ideas and, eventually talking at our next work session on services to cut. So it's not insignificant to your day-to-day life, so it is a reality. That's where we're at. 640, 50,000, 80,000, over $600,000 of deficit this year.
Yeah.
To finish out this year.
In 25, yeah.
And 25, and 25, just in this year, we're not even in 26 yet, and we're already having it. Or coming in short, anticipated. Thank you for the conversations. We'll learn a lot every time during the budget cycle, and everyone in the community has an opportunity to learn a lot as well, so. Good news on the pools, Samantha, thank you, thanks. I'm not gonna like say any days, but just like off what you're saying, like, all right, here's like best case scenario. I'm not gonna speak with any day, so I'm just like in my mind, when can my kids get back in the pool? So, I know, exactly, I love it, it's great. Thank you for that, thanks for the effort on that. I'll thank you, Jeremiah, also for bringing your issue forward. That's before us. Thank you for holding us accountable. And that's all. No. There's nothing else. There motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn.